You're listening to my favorite podcast,
The Big Buck Registry.
Big Buck Registries.
Big Buck Registries.
Big Buck Registry.
The Big Buck Registries Deer Hunt Podcast.
Welcome to the September 2023 edition of Deer News. This month we dive into a range of stories, including pressing issues surrounding deer populations and wildlife management across various regions. We'll unpack the allegations faced by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency and explore the challenges of deer overpopulation in urban settings like Washington, D.C. and picturesque Dartmouth, Massachusetts. As hunting seasons roll out, we'll discuss the significant changes in regulations, such as Minnesota's introduction of crossbows and Michigan's focus on antlerless deer. And we'll touch on the digital transition in hunting practices in New Hampshire and the opening of New Hampshire's Lake Winnipesaukee Islands to deer hunting. Lastly, we'll navigate through the controversial terrains of deer baiting bans in Kansas and the legal intricacies of Mill Creek MetroParks deer management strategy. So, let's dive in.
Now here's Jim Keller with the Deer News.
Our first story is out of Tennessee and comes from TennesseeOutlook.com. Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency, TWRA, faces allegations of data manipulation on chronic wasting disease. The Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency, TWRA, is currently embroiled in a significant controversy. James Kelly, a former biologist with the agency, has come forward with serious allegations, claiming that state officials have been manipulating data related to the chronic wasting disease, CWD, in deer populations. Chronic wasting disease is a fatal neurological disorder known to affect deer and elk populations. The disease, which remains incurable, poses a significant threat to wildlife. While there have been no reported cases of the disease transmitting to humans, the carcasses of affected animals can remain contagious. In 2018, TWRA announced the detection of CWD in 10 deer harvested in the Fayette and Hardeman counties. The agency's protocol involved a two-step testing process, an initial screening using an enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, ELISA, and a subsequent, more expensive immunohistochemistry, IHC test to confirm positive results. However, Kelly's allegations suggest a deviation from this protocol. He claims that as the number of samples increased, TWRA stopped using the IHC testing method for confirmation. This shift, according to Kelly, led to an over-reporting of the disease's prevalence. While the agency reported CWD cases in 16 counties, Kelly insists that only Hardeman and Fayette counties had confirmed cases. The potential over-reporting of CWD cases has far-reaching consequences. On the economic front, counties reported to have CWD could experience a decline in hunting activities, leading to lost revenue. On the environmental side, the misreporting could lead to the unnecessary transportation of diseased deer for disposal, potentially spreading the disease further. In light of these allegations, a spokesperson for TWRA has declined to comment on the ongoing litigation. However, they have defended the agency's protocols, emphasizing that they are based on extensive vetting of the latest peer-reviewed research. The controversy has raised several pressing questions about the transparency and accountability of state agencies and the integrity of scientific research. As the legal proceedings progress, the residents of Tennessee and the broader environmental community await a resolution that ensures the protection of the state's wildlife and the trust of its citizens. Stay with us for more updates on this unfolding story. Our next story brings us to the nation's capital and comes from phys.org. Deer overpopulation in Washington, D.C., a city's struggle with urban wildlife. The bustling streets of Washington, D.C., known for their historical landmarks and political hustle, are now witnessing an unexpected guest, the white-tailed deer. While their presence paints a picturesque scene, the city grapples with the challenges posed by their growing numbers. Once on the verge of extinction in the 19th century due to aggressive hunting and widespread deforestation, deer populations have surged, with current estimates exceeding 30 million nationwide. The East Coast, and notably Washington, D.C., has become a hotspot for these animals. For many residents, the sight of deer amidst urban settings is enchanting. However, the narrative isn't all rosy. Homeowners report frequent garden invasions, while city officials express concerns over traffic hazards. Additionally, health departments are on alert due to the potential spread of tick-borne diseases linked to these animals. The ecological ramifications are even more pronounced. Rock Creek Park, a sprawling 1,754-acre urban sanctuary, is under ecological stress. The park's younger trees are dwindling, not due to natural aging, but because of the insatiable appetite of the deer. They feed on young saplings and native plants, both vital for the park's biodiversity and overall health. The National Park Service, recognizing the urgency of the situation, has been conducting annual culls since 2013. However, the deer population remains robust, leading to debates on alternative population control measures. The city now stands at a crossroads. As deer continue to roam the streets and parks, Washington, D.C. must find a balance. The challenge is clear, ensuring the coexistence of urban life with nature while addressing the multifaceted issues posed by the deer overpopulation. Our next story brings us to Dartmouth, Massachusetts, and was first seen on DartmouthWeekToday.com. Deer overpopulation crisis in Dartmouth, a call for collaboration. The picturesque town of Dartmouth is facing an unexpected challenge, a booming white-tailed deer population. While these animals have long been a part of the local landscape, their increasing numbers are causing concern among residents, farmers, conservationists, and local officials. A recent gathering at the Dartmouth Grange saw a diverse group of stakeholders, including local landowners, conservationists, farmers, hunters, and even state politicians, come together to discuss the deer overpopulation issue. The primary focus was on the impact of deer on local ecosystems and agriculture. White-tailed deer, in the absence of natural predators like mountain lions and wolves, have seen a significant rise in their population over the past few decades. This growth has been exacerbated by a decrease in hunting due to land use changes and restrictions on legal hunting access. According to the Massachusetts Department of Fish and Wildlife, a healthy forest can sustain between 6 to 18 deer per square mile. However, recent studies have shown alarming numbers. For instance, the Allens Pond Wildlife Sanctuary reported a staggering 56 deer per square mile. Even more concerning, the Great Neck Wildlife Sanctuary in Wareham recorded 151 deer per square mile. The repercussions of this overpopulation are manifold. Farmers like Deanna Levanti from Ivory Silo Farm have reported significant crop losses due to deer feeding. We're not just talking about a few heads of lettuce. We're talking about hundreds, Levanti emphasized. Furthermore, the deer's feeding habits are affecting the region's native ecosystem. Gina Pertel from Mass Audubon highlighted that deer prefer native plants over non-native species. This preference disrupts local food chains, as native plants are crucial for local insects. The decline in these plants can, in turn, affect the broader ecosystem. To address this issue, Our Herd, a local group comprising farmers, conservationists, and residents, hosted a public meeting on September 6th. The group proposed that landowners and farmers enter formal agreements with hunters, allowing them to hunt deer on their properties. This approach aligns with Section 37 of the state's general laws, which permits landowners to hunt animals that damage their property. However, if they wish to delegate this task to another individual, they must either employ the hunter or obtain special permission from the state. State Rep. Paul Schmidt expressed his commitment to addressing the deer crisis, emphasizing his determination to support local farmers. He also mentioned ongoing efforts by Mass Wildlife, such as the Share the Harvest program. This initiative allows hunters to donate deer meat to families in need, with the closest participating butcher being Ventura's Meat Market in Fall River. The meeting also served as a platform for farmers and hunters to connect and discuss potential collaborations. Our Herd organizer Amy Thurber stressed the importance of landowners vetting hunters before granting them access to their properties. As Dartmouth grapples with this ecological challenge, community-driven initiatives like Our Herd's efforts highlight the importance of collaboration and proactive measures to ensure a balanced coexistence between humans and wildlife. Next, we go to Minnesota. This article comes from the Star Tribune. Minnesota opens crossbow use for all in archery deer season. As the archery deer season kicked off on September 16th, Minnesota introduced a significant change to its hunting regulations. For the first time, any hunter, regardless of age or physical condition, can use a crossbow during the archery deer season. Previously, the state law restricted crossbow use during this season to individuals over 60 or those with a physical impairment that prevented them from using a traditional bow. However, a legislative amendment last spring has expanded crossbow access to all. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, DNR, will closely monitor crossbow usage over the next 3 seasons. Following this period, officials are mandated to report their findings to lawmakers. Depending on the outcomes, the law permitting universal crossbow use might either sunset after 3 years or receive reapproval from the legislature. The appeal of crossbows is evident. They are more lethal at longer distances, potentially more accurate, and significantly easier to use compared to traditional bows. Crossbow bolts can achieve speeds surpassing 400 feet per second, outpacing arrows from conventional compound bows. This speed, combined with the weight of the bolts, ensures lethality even beyond 50 yards. In contrast, traditional archers usually limit their shots to 40 yards or less. One of the most significant advantages of crossbows is their user-friendliness. The firing mechanism can be cocked mechanically at the hunt's onset, allowing the hunter to be ready for a shot at any moment. This contrasts with traditional bows where the archer must draw and hold the arrow just as the target approaches, waiting for the perfect shot opportunity. John Chalstrom, owner of Chalstrom's Bait and Archery Pro Shop in Rice Lake, highlighted the ease of using crossbows. After setting up the crossbow and adjusting the telescopic sight, it's ready for use straight out of the box, requiring minimal practice. Chalstrom's shop has seen a surge in crossbow sales, indicating growing interest due to the new law. While the law aims to provide more flexibility to hunters, it does leave a data gap. The Minnesota DNR won't be able to distinguish between traditional archers and crossbow users, since the license remains the same for both. To bridge this gap, the DNR plans to ask hunters registering their deer to specify whether it was taken with a bow or crossbow. The DNR anticipates that many traditional archery and firearms deer hunters will transition to using crossbows during the archery season. However, they don't expect a significant rise in the total deer harvest, but rather a shift in the harvest method. In neighboring Wisconsin, crossbow use has seen a rapid increase since the state allowed unrestricted crossbow hunting in 2014. The number of crossbow licenses sold rose from 47,812 in 2014 to 122,002 in 2022. Interestingly, crossbow hunters in Wisconsin surpassed traditional archery hunters in deer harvested within a few years. As Minnesota embarks on this new chapter in its hunting regulations, it remains to be seen how the broader hunting community will adapt and what impacts, if any, this change will have on the state's deer populations. Our next story turns to Michigan. New Michigan Antlerless recommendation. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources, DNR, has taken a proactive step in addressing the state's deer population management by releasing an open letter to its hunting community. In this letter, the DNR strongly encourages hunters to prioritize the harvesting of antlerless deer, which includes does and young males without prominent antlers. This appeal stems from a growing concern within the DNR. Despite the introduction of regulations promoting the hunting of antlerless deer, the measures have not had the desired impact on controlling the deer population. Chad Stewart, a dedicated deer biologist with the DNR, penned the letter emphasizing the critical role hunters play in effective herd management. He pointed out the impressive reproductive capabilities of deer, with many does giving birth to multiple fawns each summer, and some fawns even beginning reproduction in their first year. A significant challenge in managing the deer population is the declining number of active hunters in Michigan. In the year 2000, Michigan boasted over 800,000 hunters. However, that number has since dwindled to approximately 500,000, and further reductions are anticipated. To counteract this decline and promote antlerless deer hunting, the DNR has introduced several initiatives. These include an early antlerless firearm hunting period in September, combination tags for more flexible hunting, and reduced license costs in specific regions. The broader implications of an uncontrolled deer population are manifold. Overpopulated deer herds can cause extensive damage to forests and crops. Additionally, they increase the risk of vehicle collisions and can be vectors for diseases that affect both wildlife and humans. Historically, Michigan's white-tailed deer population was protected and nurtured due to concerns about its survival. This history might be influencing some hunters' reluctance to target antlerless deer. However, Stewart wants to dispel this notion, emphasizing that while the deer population was once fragile, it is now robust and requires active management. In wrapping up the letter, the DNR expressed hope that it would serve as a catalyst for change in hunting practices. They also anticipate that it will foster meaningful discussions among hunters, conservationists, and the general public about sustainable and effective deer management strategies. Our next story turns to New Hampshire and was originally seen in the Laconia Daily Sun. Island deer hunting, now open on New Hampshire lake islands. Lake Winnipesaukee has long been a sanctuary for nature lovers and hunting enthusiasts alike. However, recent shifts in hunting regulations are setting the stage for a new era in the region's deer management practices. In a significant move towards modernization, the traditional method of registering harvested deer at physical stations has been revamped. Hunters can now leverage the convenience of technology, registering their kills online. This digital transition, which even allows for smartphone registrations, reflects a broader societal shift towards digital solutions and streamlines the process for the hunting community. But it's the opening of all islands within Lake Winnipesaukee to deer hunting that's garnering the most attention. This decision was prompted by the escalating deer populations on these islands. While deer are a cherished sight for many, their unchecked growth can lead to ecological imbalances. Andrew Timmons, a seasoned game program supervisor for NH Fish and Game, underscored the importance of this new regulation. He noted that several of the lake's larger islands, previously untouched by hunting, have seen a significant uptick in deer numbers. The new rules aim to introduce a controlled harvest mortality rate, ensuring the deer population remains sustainable and the ecosystem balanced. Historically, only select islands, such as Long Island and Governor's Island, permitted hunting. These islands had shown clear signs of overbrowsing by deer, prompting the need for population control. The expansion of hunting to all islands is a testament to the growing deer populations across the state and the need for proactive measures. Recognizing the importance of community feedback, the NH Fish and Game Department took the initiative to engage the public. Through sessions held in Concord, Keene, and Lancaster, residents were given a platform to voice their opinions on the proposed changes. The overwhelming response was supportive, indicating a shared understanding of the need for these regulations. However, the changes haven't been without their detractors. Some longtime island residents have expressed reservations. Muriel Robinette, a Cow Island inhabitant for over 3 decades, articulated her concerns about the rifle hunting season. The proximity of homes and the potential risks associated with high-powered rifles on the islands are genuine concerns for many. As Lake Winnipesaukee navigates these changes, the coming seasons will be crucial in determining the impact of these regulations on the deer population, the environment, and the hunting community. The overarching goal remains clear: to ensure a harmonious coexistence between humans and nature. Next we go to Kansas. This article was originally posted on NPR Kansas City. Deer baiting ban proposal in Kansas sparks controversy and ethical debate. The Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks finds itself at the center of a heated debate as it considers implementing a ban on deer baiting. The proposal, aimed at curbing the spread of the debilitating chronic wasting disease in deer, has led to threats of significant budget cuts from a state lawmaker, raising questions about the interplay between political influence, public policy, and potential conflicts of interest. Chronic wasting disease, akin to mad cow disease, has been a growing concern for wildlife experts. This fatal condition inflicts severe neurological damage in deer, leading to their eventual death. With the disease's prevalence increasing, experts believe that deer baiting, which results in deer gathering around food sources, could be accelerating its spread. The proposed ban is seen as a preventive measure to protect the state's deer population. However, the ban's potential implications for local businesses have made it a contentious issue. Stakeholders, including feed sellers, hunting lodge proprietors, and rural land brokers, fear that the prohibition could adversely affect their livelihoods. Among the most vocal opponents is Repiard Lewis Bloom, a Republican from Clay Center. He has not only voiced his concerns, but has also threatened to cut $1 million from the Wildlife Department's budget if the ban is enacted. Adding another layer to the controversy, Repiard Ken Corbett, the chair of the Agriculture and Natural Resources Budget Committee, has been cited by Bloom as a potential ally in this budgetary threat. Corbett's ownership of a hunting lodge in Topeka has raised concerns about whether personal business interests are influencing legislative decisions. During a public hearing on the deer baiting issue, Bloom argued that the proposed ban would infringe upon property owners' rights and accused the Wildlife Department of overstepping its mandate. In response, Democratic Rep. Sidney Carlin, also on the committee, expressed skepticism about Bloom's threats and highlighted the ethical concerns surrounding Corbett's potential involvement. While Corbett has voiced his opposition to the deer baiting ban, he has remained ambiguous about his stance on the proposed budget cuts. He emphasized that the Wildlife Department's policies could have detrimental effects on towns and businesses that heavily rely on hunting revenue. The unfolding situation in Kansas is emblematic of the challenges many states face. Balancing wildlife conservation, economic interests, and ethical governance is a complex task. As the debate continues, the nation watches closely, recognizing that the outcome could set a precedent for similar debates elsewhere. Our final story turns to Ohio and was originally posted on Vindy.com. Mill Creek MetroParks in legal crosshairs over deer management strategy. The tranquility of Mill Creek MetroParks in Youngstown, Ohio is currently overshadowed by a brewing legal storm. A group of concerned residents, whose properties border the park, have initiated a lawsuit challenging the park's deer reduction program. This move comes despite the MetroParks having already secured the necessary permissions from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Wildlife. The Deer Reduction Initiative, which the plaintiffs have controversially labeled the Deer Slaughter Plan, was scheduled to commence in the waning days of September. These residents, fearing potential property damages and personal safety risks, have sought a preliminary injunction to halt the program. Their concerns and the park's defense will be deliberated in a hearing presided over by Magistrate Nicole Alexander of the Mahoning County Common Pleas Court. In its defense, the MetroParks has pointed to a similar legal challenge faced by the Cleveland MetroParks back in 2000. In that instance, a group named In Defense of Deer opposed the park's deer management practices. The Ohio Appeals Court, however, ruled in favor of the park, stating that the group lacked the legal standing to intervene in the park's wildlife management decisions. A significant bone of contention in the current lawsuit is the methodology employed by the MetroParks to estimate the deer population. The plaintiffs have raised doubts about the accuracy of using infrared signatures from aerial nighttime surveillance. They argue that such a method might not provide a reliable or verifiable count of the deer population. On the other hand, the MetroParks Board, in a meeting held on April 10th, underscored the urgency of the situation. Board Chairman Lee Frey pointed out that the deer population in Mill Creek MetroParks has swelled to levels nearly 19 times greater than what the park's ecosystem can healthily support, leading to potential ecological imbalances. The unfolding legal drama underscores the challenges faced by conservation authorities in balancing the delicate ecosystem while addressing residents' concerns. As the case progresses, it promises to set a precedent for similar wildlife management disputes in the region.
That concludes this month's edition of the Big Buck Registry's Deer News. If you have any ideas for future topics or have questions about any of these topics, please email me at jim@bigbuckregistry.com. For the Big Buck Registry, this is Jim Keller with the Deer News.
Thanks to Jim Keller for the Deer News, and thank you for tuning in to the Big Buck Registry's Deer Hunt podcast. We can be found on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you would like to support us and our cause, please consider buying some merchandise off of our merch page by visiting www.bigbuckmerch.com. Catch you next time, and good luck in the deer woods.